going to call our meeting to order. Let the minutes reflect all members present. First thing we're going to do is set the agenda. Any additions or changes to the agenda today?
President Preiner, staff would suggest an addition under items for discussion and information. Budget update based on the July 22nd workshop.
Okay, thank
If
you.
you're comfortable with that, thank you.
Anybody else? Don, I'll have a motion.
Everybody depends upon me on this. I'll make the motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, need the approval of the minutes.
Madam President, I move approval of the July 8, 2019 workshop minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Madam President, I move the July 10th, 2019 regular meeting minutes.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Madam President, on the portion between lines 82, I think, and 87 in there, specifically 86 and 87, that's a short description of what lacking the specific points I was talking about for why I voted against that particular issue. And
What page are you on?
He's on page of the
Nine.
minutes.
All right.
3 of the 8. And I
Does it-
guess you'd say 9, yeah.
it just says I disagree with many parts. It doesn't define the parts that I defined at the time.
Okay.
I think those are relevant and important to the discussion.
All right, well, we can have them inserted and we can approve it next time that way.
Did
That'd
you
be-
write out your points?
Why, now that you mention it, I did.
Yeah, I thought you would.
Do you want me to go over them again?
No, why don't
No.
you give them to Teresa?
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
and we'll insert them and we'll
you.
revisit that next time.
Be fine.
Madam President, I move.
Well, we never
we-
did that.
Nope, we
Well,
never
we have
did.
to vote
Okay,
now.
so well, I assume we're tabling
We'll
that.
just
table
table
it.
it.
Yeah, vote.
I'll make a motion to
Oh, yeah.
table until the next meeting
I'll
after
second
that
that
correction's
motion.
made.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
And Madam President, I move approval of July 10th, 2019 workshop minutes.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. I was gone.
Okay, consent agenda. Anybody-
Madam
President-
Chair, I'll make, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Did you think I'm going to say yes to
I
it?
was just going to say, President Preiner, Board of Managers, staff have no adjustments, but we welcome any questions.
Oh,
I
Okay,
already announced I wasn't going to have any questions, so I'm the one who'll make the motion.
there you go.
To Caprock, these two items, 19-054 and 19-061.
second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seeing nobody in the audience for open mic, we'll move on to items requiring board action. Calendar, Nick?
Yes, Board of Managers, President Preiner, at our last workshop, we discussed adjusting the meeting dates in November. The calendar on page 33 of your packet has been updated to reflect that discussion at that time. So we would have a board workshop on Friday, the 1st, and on Monday, the 4th of November, the regular board meeting. This would update the district calendar for meetings.
Okay, appreciate that. We need a motion?
Oh, should we make a motion to accept the calendar as changed?
32.
Oh, I'm on page
I
30.
got it.
Okay,
Madam President, I move to approve rescheduling the November 12th, 2019 workshop to 1 to 3 p.m. Friday, November 1st, 2019 at the Rice Creek Watershed District Office, and their November 13th, 2019 regular meeting to 9 p.m. Monday, November 4th, 2019 at the Shoreview Council Chambers. Staff will change the board's official calendar and complete the proper noticing.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Lauren?
Good morning, President Preiner, Board of Managers.
Morning.
For your consideration today are modified water quality grant program documents that incorporate a revised reimbursement approach consistent with the board's direction at the July 8th workshop. Staff revised the program guidelines as well as the application and contract with assistance from legal counsel. Staff intend for these documents to replace those previously approved by the board on January 23rd of this year, and to be effective for all new projects going forward, except for the new projects that are currently at or already past the design step of the program. Staff have a proposed motion in my memo, I believe on page 35 in your packets. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the revised water quality grant program application and contract and program guidelines documents as presented, and authorize staff to implement the revised documents, post on the district website, and disperse to the WCDs and public.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
Madam President, I just thought for the purpose of anyone that's watching this one, might want to know what we just did.
Certainly.
Which was to authorize us to pay the contractors directly rather than requiring the owners of the property to pay and then get reimbursed, making it a better process and simpler process for our clients.
Okay, thank you.
Good.
Check register.
Ready?
Yeah.
Madam President, I move to approve the check register dated July 24th, 2019, in the amount of $308,368.91, prepared by Redpath and Company.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Staff reports. Nick? And Kyle.
President Pryor, this would be the budget item from the amended agenda, okay? Yeah, President Pryor, Board of Managers, from our workshop on July 22nd, we had a number of items that the board asked staff to do. Teresa's handing out what may appear to be a large amount of data, but in actuality, it is just an updated version of the one that you previously received.
Okay.
It reflects the items that we discussed changing, and we'll just quickly go through those, so we're on the same page, and then staff's intent here is to notice for the public hearing that's required before you move into adopting the budget. So at the July 22nd meeting, we looked at setting a project trajectory that would keep your fund balance within your policy limits through the rotation of the water management plan years. And so we looked at the spending timeframes and those amounts, and also reduction in the new programs and project spending in the current year's budget. On your screen, I'll start at the end of the packet, and maybe, if you'd like, you can simply save that in reserve, or certainly you can take notes on it as you see fit. On the screen, you'll see your second to the last page, which is the good old bar graph, which shows the fund balance, which was our main focus, and wanting that to be consistent with policy. If you look at the bars themselves, the tips of the gold bars move off to the later years of your watershed management plan. We did reduce some of the spending amounts that will be projected in the watershed management plan, and then made definitive allocations, if you will, instead of just a even allocation across all the years. So that is the development of the bars. That results in us being consistent with the policy for fund balance, and it is, to be clear, illustrative, right? Because we are talking about your plan and spending that's, 9, 10 years anticipated down the road. So it's a good framework for us to keep in mind, and each year you can revisit that and move forward from there. Okay? Then, for the current year, 2020 budget, which would be our front page. We have done some reductions, again, to reduce those areas where we thought found there to be some flexibility, and that would generally represent maybe new programs or new projects that we aren't really entrenched in at this time to assist us. And so for each of the different funds, you'll remember we split out right under that first grade bar. So on the screen, you'll see the salaries, taxes, para, et cetera. Each one of those is increased for the rent. The rent increase was not on your last version, so that is an increase of $12,000 across the board, and it's distributed between each one of those funds. And then the green bars on the document represent drops. And if you'd like, I will tell you how much each one of those dropped as compared to the last one, if that's okay.
Yep.
So the top one, Anoka Chain of Links Water Management Project, that is a drop of $50,000. It used to be at $200,000. Kyle, is there anything specific maybe to add there about why or to share? Sorry.
Yeah, Nick, not too much specific to add. There's funds there we're, planning for a possibility of a alum treatment on Centerville Lake in the future, so we still have seed money to do a study there if we need to. And then other funds are generally for implementation of the TMDLs, plural, on the chain of lakes up there. So that was an area that we felt we could carve that back a little bit, not knowing exactly what projects are specifically in mind for those funds, so we did draw that back.
Moving on to the next one, 6004, the next green bar down. That is a drop of $25,000 again for the Middle Rice Creek Management Project. That's a new one, but here we'd also like to maintain some seed money. Should your partners come to you and ask for some study, et cetera, we would be able to respond in some fashion to that. Further down, under 60 again, 15, Stormwater Management Cost Share. That is a drop of $200,000 reduction, used to be at $500,000. I'll let Kyle speak to that maybe a little.
And that fund specifically is formerly the Urban Stormwater Remediation Cost Share Program. Historically, that program has been at approximately $300,000 per year. Initial plan was to bump it to $500,000 in coming years. Given some of the restrictions and aspirations that we have in the next planning cycle, at this time we are proposing that remain at $300,000 for the year 2020.
Madam President. Gentlemen, you're not really decreasing the existing budget from the year before, are you? You're just saying that the estimated budget that we had earlier this year has been revised.
Good.
That's correct.
And I think it's important to make that clarification so that, as Manager Bradley pointed out earlier about public understanding, this isn't actually a reduction in what we've done in the past. We're just not aggressively, as aggressively going forward in the future with increases.
Yes, Manager Waller, Board of Managers, I would say that is indeed true. The only caveat I'd add to that is we're a little bit apples and oranges between the past budget, line items, et cetera, and the current one going into the Watershed Management Plan. But you are correct, the the reductions that I'm stating are just simply changes from the last budget for 2020
Workshop.
that the board looked at, correct?
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, and the second thing I'd say is that it's important for us to distinguish between when we have these conversations about the budgets, between what we're talking on the 10-year plan and what we're talking about the next year. And that's, on the paper, that's fairly easy to see, but, you know, but
Yes.
it's important to be conscious of that.
right.
Thank you.
Madam President, the other observation I would make is that while it's early in the process, there's a potential for Bowser to double last year's grant money available, comparable purposes, which would essentially replace this money that we're taking out of this budget.
Well, is it really replacing it?
Augmenting the money that we're going to
Okay.
put in it.
Yeah, I would say, okay. Very good. Continue?
Right, I believe I left off on 6024. Southwest Urban Lakes implementation, a drop of $50,000 down to $200,000. Next, Clear Lake Water Management Project, we brought that down to zero, a drop of $50,000. Yeah, if you
If you
will.
don't mind. And this is an area similar to Golden Lake and Silver Lake as far as implementation areas in our CIP, in the new watershed plan. There aren't large amounts of funds in those program areas, project areas. We've spent a lot of money in the Clear Lake area in the last decade, and so it's really just represents us taking a break there. There's still funding, identified in the water management plan, 2020 watershed plan for Clear Lake. We're just identifying that 2020 might be a year that we take a break. Again, we have other large projects in the budget
To be done,
in
yeah.
2020 that we need to focus on, and so for those folks in that area and in the Lake Association up there, we'll come back to it. There's still funding in the plan.
Okay, thank you.
And Kyle, to further that thought, when we look at the water management plan, and I talked about the allocation of the aspiration of expenses into the future and the years that we put them on. So when we assembled those under a particular year, it does allow staff to respond if someone should come to us and we don't have funding proposed, we can say, well, next year, here's when we're anticipating it. Again, we're planning for these activities, although in the current year, we may not have the funding. So it's, the one we just spoke about, Clear Lake, good example, but it does follow through on the rest of the plan and projected budgets as well.
So, Madam President, what you're saying, Nick, is that you have a marker in the long-term water management plan, and that marker is available to.
That is correct. The board had numerous things that they would like to accomplish for the citizens of the district. We can't accomplish all of those in a single year, and so we've spread them out, and eventually it, I believe, is the board's hope that we'll be able to answer to all those things that you found important in communication with your partners.
Okay,
Moving down to 60-35, Stormwater Master Planning, that was reduced by $55,000 down to $25,000. Next one would be under Fund 80, Ditch and Creek Maintenance, JD4 Repair. Was that? Oh, I'm sorry. RCD4, thank you. We reduced that down to zero, eliminated the $60,000 that was in place there. Not intending that we wouldn't do anything, but it's likely further in the future than, obviously, the 2020 budget.
yeah.
Further down, Fund 90, Lake and Stream Management, Fund 27, the Curly Leaf Pondweed Management, that went from 75 drop of 25, so now is at $50,000. And so, in total, we have a drop of $503,000 from the previous preliminary budget that you did see. recall that does include the rent increase of $12,000. So if you do the math, you'll have to include that into your calculations.
Good.
We'll take a breath there if there's any questions.
A side note on that, we haven't received our rent information yet back, signed, or have we? We have?
We're working out the final details of the
Okay.
lease. We did have a response, and some of the language is less than ideal, although I think we have a path forward.
Okay, good. Okay, any other questions on this?
From there, if I might, the only other thing staff would, is the last page of your packet there is the notice document, which I think I have here. So for the public hearing on your screen now, and again, the last page of your packet is the document that we would, or the detail that we would publish in the papers as required in order for you to hold the public hearing. That will get us on our way to see what folks think of what we've developed here and for you to respond to any of their questions or concerns.
Okay, so you need a motion on this?
No,
To accept it, or?
No, if
Just
the board is
discussion.
comfortable with it, I think we can simply do that. If you have consensus here on that,
Everybody
Great,
feel ready to
no
go on
problem.
this?
You got
Yep.
Okay, we're good.
Consensus.
okay, very good,
a
thank you.
schedule to make,
Yeah, well,
September.
Correct. Yep,
sounds good.
we'll
Anything
hold
else?
the public hearing, the meeting before, what was that, August 28th, and
Yeah.
then September 11th is when we'd actually take action. And of course, September 15th is kind of our marker to have it into the
To
counties.
have it done.
And the board is supposed to keep this so they don't need to kill more trees. So we can have this for
Trees
the
are
28th.
renewable, plastic is not.
Anyway, this is the packet to keep.
It's renewable too.
Okay, anything else then? Next thing is staff reports. Any
Madam
staff?
President, I'd just like to acknowledge staff's
Yes.
effort to getting that done in short order, and I appreciate it.
Very good. I'll wait till next sits down. Anything else? Chris, anything new in the engineering department?
Madam President, I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Any questions? Nick?
President Priner, Board of Managers, just a couple of notes. Hoping to have good open discussion with the board as we move through this period. I'd just like you to know that you should feel free to call me if you have any questions or concerns. And it helps me if you have a concern about your staff's performance isn't the right word, but the obligations that they're undertaking on your behalf. And since the administrator is to manage their productivity, it's good that we're on the same page and keep that consistent with the board's wishes on the actions that they take. And beyond that, if you'd prefer to send me an email, that'd be great, and I can forward it on your behalf or that kind of thing. Obviously, you've been respectful of the open meeting law, and obviously, if we have conversations via email or something like that, we can get in trouble there. So either one is fine.
Phone call. Okay, I hear you.
Anything else? Anybody
No,
else?
you're gonna give up email? I'm shocked.
And so let's go back to your first point, and then your first point is for everybody to go through you, and so that you can go to the staff.
Correct. If they're to be undertaking a task consistent with a board action, I'd like to know if there's a concern in that ability, or just help us to all stay on the same page about it.
Okay.
I thought that already was a rule.
He's just reiterating it for probably some people, I
I
think.
thought that was a rule when I got on the board.
Yeah, I don't believe it's an adopted policy of the board. It's certainly a very good and almost elementary practice.
Good for
And
efficiency.
I know Phil had communicated with staff, let me know if someone's calling you, I might not be aware of it, and so if you come through me, comes from the board, through the hourglass and into staff, I can better understand your wishes.
So you're admitting you're the bottleneck?
I am not a bottleneck. I'm a facilitator of your wishes.
There you go. There's a big difference. Nobody wants to be a bottleneck.
No.
Well, you mentioned that already.
All right, August calendar, everybody's got the update, I believe. Okay.
Yes, President Preiner, if I might, yeah, the one in the packet is obsolete, but you were provided a new one that was handed out, so please use that one. And you'll notice the top one is the August 7th, 9 a.m. special board meeting. That's where we're gonna talk about the watershed management plan and get that out on notice with your consent or your action. It is at Rice Creek at the city, or at the district office, instead of here at Shoreview. The room was occupied, but we've done that before at the district office, so we should be fine.
Should be fine. And the other thing was, the new thing was, well, not new, was the remote meeting participation. So that's for everybody to show up to understand our new system and to learn how to use it, hopefully.
Yes, correct, President Preiner. We will have staff from the firm we bought the equipment from to train us on it. Staff will be present, and I hope the Board of Managers, so we can make good use of it.
So the 7th is at the office,
7 a.m. at the office, correct.
9 a.m.
9 a.m. on the
Thank you, I
7th.
appreciate that,
You'll
on
be
the
there.
7th
I'll
at
be
the
there.
office.
Want you to be early.
Bring coffee, right?
Yes, Wednesday, August 7th, 9 a.m., Rice Creek office.
Right, thank you.
Okay, anything else on that? Managers' reports. Manager Waller?
Madam President, I attended the Forest Lake planning session as we were invited by Mayor Bain, and most of the discussion up there by the citizens was about their different areas. It wasn't into the technical aspects that you'll find with where we are with the drainage and such at this time. I expect that staff and city council will be looking at that at their next scheduled workshop for that. But I had a delightful time. Councilman Husnick was there, and so it was an interesting meeting to watch the processes go by.
I think that's for their comp plan, isn't
Yes, it is.
it? Yeah, we
And
attended
so-
that, and whenever the first one was, and the same thing, our observation was, it's really not the time for us to be intervening in their comp plan, but we will be meeting with them later about the water issues and things that would pertain to the watershed district. Okay, anything else? Go ahead.
I just noticed when we probably all got our email yesterday, and we have now published for our administrator. It's been put out, and just for any applicant, anybody interested in it, that they could apply, and it has a quite extensive job description, et cetera, in there, so.
Yeah, I thought.
So that's been published yesterday, right? Okay.
Okay, Mike,
I have nothing.
Steve,
Nothing?
and I have nothing more. So there we are.
Wow.
Need a motion to adjourn.
I will so move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.